Walking on the Voice stage is something I will never forget. The moment before I walked on, I had a panic attack, and then somehow I just pushed through that fear. Now it's one of the values of the Mortgage Mum. It's called the 4-10-10, because I said it took me 4 seconds to walk there.
Sarah Tucker is the founder and CEO of The Mortgage Mum, a mortgage and protection brokerage made up entirely of women. So when you did start The Mortgage Mum, what was the scariest part about making the leap into something completely different?
I don't ever think the universe makes it really simple and says, here you go, it's all laid out, there's no uncertainty, don't you worry. It says leap first and I'll catch you.
Have you had emotional moments in this journey? And if so, is there any particular ones that stand out?
Having your own business takes all of you. You know, it's a soul journey. So whatever's in there is coming up in your business. And you've got to address it, because otherwise it will hold your business back.
When people start earning a bit more money, is there a decision to make? Do you pay some extra money off your mortgage, or do you invest that money? Have you got any advice?
This is one I think about a lot.
Hello and welcome to The Switch from St James's Place Financial Advisor Academy. I'm Gee Foottit. If you're ready for a better, more fulfilling career, this is your go-to resource to start that journey. Sarah, a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we've got some quick fire questions first of all, Sarah.
Okay.
What is one financial habit that's changed your life?
Definitely tracking my money to the finest detail. And in doing that, exploring my money stories and my relationship with money and unpacking that at the same time.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that as we walk through the rest of the interview. Can you really build a career that you love and make money?
Yes, you can.
Fantastic. That is good to hear for our listeners. And why should everyone learn and understand mortgages better?
I think to empower you to make the right decisions. Any knowledge is power. And I think when it comes to your mortgage, there is so much more to it than people think.
Thank you, Sarah. So you didn't just change careers, but you built a business.
Yeah.
What was the spark that started The Mortgage Mum?
The spark was definitely my own needs as a mother at the time, and somebody that had relatively small ambition, actually. I just wanted to work from home. I wanted to do something that made a difference. Having been a PA for 10 years, I just felt that I wasn't really contributing. And I used to get, that niggle in your belly that you're like, oh, try and ignore it. So it was just what I needed. I needed the space that I created, and I created it initially for myself and my family and my children. And then it wasn't until I went on The Voice, and that kind of expanded my confidence and my belief that I could do hard things and ambitious things. And I really then started to think, I wonder if there's other women like me. There must be. And I wonder if I could look after them. And that's really, the spark started with my own children and evolved into helping one woman at a time. And now my ambition has grown so much bigger.
I love that. Do you think ambition lurks in all of us, even if we don't feel it?
Yes, because I was not ambitious. I often think, why wasn't I like this in my 20s and early 30s even? But I was crippled with anxiety growing up, and like a lack of self-worth and a lack of confidence, and kind of it took me a long time to figure out that I was like other people and I wasn't this weird human that had just, was existing with everyone else, that everybody felt things that I felt. It took me a long time to realise that. And I think my ambition was hidden under so many layers of stuff. I think it was always there, and it came out in sort of party planning or planning my wedding, or, just things, and singing. Obviously, it came out once a year for my singing audition for whatever TV show was on at the time. So it was always there, but I think it was just hidden under layers of I can't, and I didn't entertain it. And then the more confidence came, the more those layers stripped away. And I think I was always ambitious. And I think lots of people, I see them join The Mortgage Mum with a certain element of ambition. And that fire, it is like a fire. If you tend to it, it grows, it gets bigger. But if you don't and you pat it down, you might never realise that there's flames that can come alight. It literally is like that. You have to tend to it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I do think everyone can be ambitious.
Amazing. And you did feature on The Voice. You are an amazing singer. So where did the confidence to do something like that come from?
I think sometimes struggle is what builds us the most. I wish it wasn't. It'd be really nice if it wasn't. But after having my 2 children, I kind of thought I had it all figured out. I had made a plan. I was working self-employed. I had made the big step and the big leap to leave my employed job. And I felt like I was in control of my life plan then, even though leap into self-employment is very much not in my control as to how it's going to go. But I was into manifesting. And then I was hit with postnatal depression, which I was not expecting. I did not plan for. And I really it was a horrible time. It didn't last for too long, but it was enough that it shook my whole reality up and kind of spat me out. And I just thought, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. So I lent into anything I could, anything. So I discovered spirituality, crystals, Reiki, women's circles, and that made such a huge difference to my confidence. I joined a group called Thrive Like a Mother, and it was many of us women who were just a little bit lost and didn't really know why, but we wanted to live better. We wanted to thrive, not just survive. And so many mums, I think, dip into that survival mode, and we're just trying to get through the day. So it was a really great course, and that really ignited my ambition, because we had to declare who we were in the first challenge, and all of us said what we did. None of us said who we were. Didn't know who we were. This is my job, this is my children, this is who I am. It was like, no, she challenged all of us. Who are you? What do you like? What kind of person are you? What are your values? So straight away I was like, oh, okay. And throughout this challenge we had to declare what we deep down wanted and what our dream was, but over a really slow period of time, like 12 weeks. And by the 12th week, you were a different version of yourself. She made us all record a video. It's 5 years' time. And out came, I've sung on a TV show, which I always knew I wanted, but I thought I'd put it to bed. Sung on a TV show, it went brilliantly. My children were part of it. I'm not a famous singer, but it was a beautiful experience. And I've then gone on to set up a business. And then the mortgage mum just came out of my mouth, it was in there. So they were very interconnected. So when the voice happened, it was amazing. It was such a validation. And and then the mortgage mum the two wouldn't have happened without each other.
Wow, what an amazing story. Now, most people would find stepping onto the stage of The Voice absolutely terrifying.
It was.
So how did that experience link to your personal growth, and then that led to the mortgage mum?
Walking on the Voice stage is something I will never forget. And the hours leading up to it, because it's not just the moment you do it, it's all of the hours, the night's sleep before, the imagining that there's so many more months that go before that moment to prepare you, but also to play on your mind. And I tried to sing in auditions, in shows like that for 16 years, and I'd got quite far, never got aired. But I couldn't help it. I always knew there was a moment, and I knew there was a stage, and I knew there was a moment where it came together. And when they did the rehearsal, they took me to the Voice stage. I said, we just want you to sit today, because on the day it can be a bit overwhelming. And I was like, okay. And they took me on for the rehearsal, and they're like, come on, here it is. And I literally burst into as soon as I got on the stage, I was shaky, and they were like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I knew it was the stage, and I just knew this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. That being said, the moment before I walked on, I had a panic attack about an hour before. I was completely not myself. I was not how I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel fire, confidence. I didn't. I felt shaky, weak, just not so sure. I didn't want to talk to anyone, but I wanted to talk to everyone and make a good impression. I just felt like I was letting myself down. And one of the producers called me out of the room and said, this train's about to move. Once it moves, we can't stop it. What's going on with you? And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm not okay. I'm panicking. And thank God for her, because she sat me down. She's like, tell me what you're worrying about. I was like, you haven't got time for this. She's like, I've got time. We've seen what you can do. You need to do that today. It would be such a shame if you don't. So tell me what's going on. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to forget the words. What if I have a panic attack? What if I can't breathe? Can't take a full breath? Just pure panic. Yeah. And she brought my daughter into it and said, well, what would you say if this was Sienna? And I was like, oh, what are you doing to me? As a mum, that's like, it just gets you straight away. And I said, I tell her I'm so proud of her. And I just want her just to get on the stage is enough. Everything else is a bonus. And she was like, right, then start being kinder to yourself. And we just had this really empowering talk. And so when I went on the side of the stage a couple of times, they were like, you ready? I was like, yeah, no. You ready? No, sorry, I just need one more. And then somehow I just pushed through that fear. And I had goosebumps the whole time walking all the way to the stage. And now it's one of the values in the Mortgage Mum. It's called the 4-10-10, because I said it took me 4 seconds to walk there. It took me 10 seconds to walk to the front. And then it took the final 10 seconds of the audition to get through whatever that block was within me. It broke through something, and it was a hard wall to crack. But once it did, it was like, they turned, the whole world lit up for me, and it wasn't just about the turn. So the resistance, whatever you're resisting, is probably where your confidence is going to sit the other side of. That's the truth. It's probably not what people want to hear, but it's the truth. It's the scariest thing I've ever done, but the biggest reward.
And there's a theme with the guests that we've had on the show throughout this series, is taking the time to understand your values, taking the time to understand yourself. And for you, that was through the women's circles that enabled you to go through that process. So I think that's really valuable. Now, something like The Voice might seem like a pipe dream for many people watching, and it was for you as well. And do you think we should all make a bucket list of things that we've always wanted to achieve in life to help us build confidence?
Definitely. I'm a big believer in goal setting. And I think if on the wrong day, it's a bit like social media, on the wrong day, if it feels so far away and you feel like you're never going to get it, it can give you negative feelings. So it's really important to sort of scale it back as well into the goals that you can control in that week, in that month, in that year. But to me, that's the magic of life, is having those stretch goals. And when they happen, that's when you really start to believe that you can actually create the life you want. And along the way, you'll forget it again. And I've had that very recently. And I anchor myself back in those moments where I go, no, look, you've made these things happen in your life. You can do it again. But it is going to be like that. You don't kind of learn it once and then you just go up from there. Different life events confuse you all over again, and you relearn the same lessons again. But the more experience you have to draw on, the more your brain has evidence. I can do this. I have done this before. The more it's going to help you get through those times, and they don't last as long and they're quicker to get through.
So when you did start The Mortgage Mum, what was the scariest part about making the leap into something completely different?
I would say when I started The Mortgage Mum, I was in quite a vulnerable place because I'd just come off the show. So it's fine when you're on a high. And that's when I set it up. I was on a high. I knew I was going to air. I'd had 3 really difficult auditions that I'd got through, and no one knew except me and my business partner. So it was the moment, he was like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, let's do this company. In actual fact, I said, I've got this idea. And he said, let's do it together as a company. And that was the start. So I was so confident, so high vibe, that limitless potential. Life felt limitless. And then it aired, and the world kind of was part of my kind of thing that was happening. That was different because there's a lot of positives and negatives with a big audience. And then I came off the show, and I came off unexpectedly before anyone thought I would. And it hit me so hard because then I was confused. I was like, hang on, what? But I've just manifested this amazing thing and everything's been amazing. And now I've grown, and now what? What do I do next? And so The Mortgage Mum, the scariest part in answer to your question was putting myself out there again to get hurt, because it doesn't always work out how you think it's going to. It's always working out what's best overall for you and everybody involved. Sometimes that's not what you want in that moment, and it challenges you having a business and putting yourself out there. I guess, my biggest fear was that I would fail, and very publicly fail. Because I had put myself out there straight after I was the most public I'd ever been. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. And if it had gone wrong, everyone would have seen me fail twice, because I felt like The Voice was a failure in the end. even though now I know it wasn't.
Yeah.
At the time, it felt like it. You know, people put bets on for me to win, and there were posters everywhere. And then all of a sudden they just got taken down and people lost their money. And I just thought, oh my God, I've failed. So I didn't want 2 fails back to back.
So how did you find the bravery to do it anyway?
It was one woman that I didn't want to let down. So I'd already started the wheels in motion. And she took her CMAP. She's now my business partner in another business that we have, a specialist finance business. And she'd taken a leap of faith, and then she'd come back and said to me, I'm up for this, you know, when are you starting it? And it was that fear of letting other people down. I just thought, oh, if I don't do it, she's going to be really upset with me. And then more women that I met and spoke to, I was like, where are they going to go? If I don't do this, where are they going to go? And what impact is that going to have? So I guess it was the women, really. It was the women that started it and the women that brought me back.
I love that. And do you think people need accountability partners when they're setting out on a new career journey?
Definitely. I have one now still. We do something called the head plan, me and my friend, and we set weekly goals and we set mood boards and monthly goals, and that accountability has accelerated what we both do in a week.
Great.
So absolutely, if you're starting a new career path, especially as a woman, but I'm sure men too, you're going to have moments where you doubt yourself. You know, you're going to have that version of you that wants to stay small and safe. She's going to have something to say on it, because she's going to be like, what are you doing? No, don't do that. That's scary. And you need your cheerleaders to remind you, you've got this, that really see and believe in you. You need that. Women need that. We need our tribes. We need our villages. We're strong, but sometimes we need reminding of how strong we are. We're vulnerable, so we can kind of feel all of it. And you need reminding to bring you back to your place of strength when you do slip into that mindset.
I agree. And I think we're all, as well, like the example of the amazing producer that helped you on The Voice, we'll always be our children or our friends' biggest cheerleader. So actually, we'll have the doubts ourselves, maybe the imposter syndrome, but we would be the first to champion each other. So having that accountability with somebody you know has got your back, I think that's really powerful.
And I think sometimes other people can see you before you see your own potential.
Definitely.
So those mentors, guides, they're a mirror for you. And you got to choose them wisely, because they're going to reflect back to you what they want you to see.
Definitely. Now, one of the demographics that we work with here at St James's Place Financial Advisor Academy that I'm particularly passionate about personally are parents re-entering the workplace. Now, you've spoken about wanting to create a company that works with motherhood or parenthood, not against it. What does that look like to you?
That looks like flexibility. I always say, you know, the moments that really are the gut punch when you're a parent is when you miss things like the sports day or the random assembly that they decide to put at 11:30 on a Tuesday, or the nativity play. You know, there's only so many years these things happen. And look, in the moment, sometimes it's not where you want to be, but I always look out for the look. And my kids, my son particularly, still gives me that look. Just so subtle, and only I and him know it. But I see all the mums giving the look to their kids and dads. And it could be any kind of, you know, if you can't get there yourself, I don't want people to feel bad, because as long as there's someone that they can look at, but they look for you, and they might get just an ounce of courage from just that one look. And that, as a parent, when you miss those moments, does weigh heavy, and it affects your mental health. I really believe that affects your how you show up. And look, I have still missed some things because of my role now is elevated, but I took great pleasure and pride in not missing them, you know, just when I started the business, and watching other parents and women make the same choice. I think also it's about understanding emotionally there's lots going on. Overwhelm is real, stress is real, and we all show up very differently. I am hyper productive under a stressful situation, which is really helpful and could probably be really good if my manager was, you know, great, she's doing loads. But we have to be really careful to look after the women and the parents in our team in the way that we notice their signs. these are things that I think companies need to do, because we're holding a lot. Parents in general are holding a lot. The more women that work, the more the household needs to both hold the weight. So to me, yeah, creating a company that's built for women, mothers, parents is flexibility, emotional awareness, and I think really encouraging people to bring themselves to work, to their truest selves, realising and recognising their life outside of work and bringing that in. So they don't have to turn into a robot. You know, they don't have to be one person here and one person there. It's okay. This work-life balance, just balance. It's not about trying to escape one to get to the other. It's just trying to create a life around it.
Absolutely. I love that. Now, you recently said in reference to the summer holidays that the system is broken. What did you mean by that?
Well, the simple math is, and I'm really passionate about this at the moment, 13 weeks off a year they get in school, I believe. Could be wrong. It could be 1 or 2 weeks out. And the average employer is 6 weeks holiday if you're lucky. So even if you used every day on your kids, which I also don't promote, because you are a human, to nurture yourself, you also need to look after yourself. And that means not just being work or mum. You know, there is a life in between that. You still wouldn't have any, you wouldn't even have half of the holiday that's left. So what are you supposed to then, in a split household that has a pet, 2 parents, both take 6 weeks each? You're still a week short, by the way, even if you do that. And then the cost of, firstly, you have to wait till your children are a certain age to go to clubs, but then the cost of those clubs are, you know, you're talking thousands to get through the summer holidays. And this system hasn't been revised for many, many years. And yes, there's companies like the Mortgage Mum and St James's Place that offer flexibility, but it's still a juggle. It's still a challenge. You're still split between what you know you should do and what you want to do and what your kids want to do. And the system is broken. It's against us, you know, before we've even started. I don't know how fixed employed parents are doing it. They must be relying on the babysitters of mum and dad, but not all of us have that. I have very young parents. They still work full time. So I just think it needs to be addressed. It needs to be made easier. It's not just about women either, it's parents.
I agree. And we get people coming to our events, you know, with the ambition of starting a business, with the dream of flexibility. And yes, it's women that want it, but increasingly it's the men talking to us about, I've got a young family, this trading job, I'm at my desk at 7 a.m, you know, I don't leave till whenever in the evening. And like you say, actually the household is more balanced now because women are working. And I think in my daughter's school class, I can't think of anyone that has one single working family, like it is both parents in every situation. So yeah, I agree. I think it completely needs addressing.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly what the answer is, you know. I don't know what the answer is. I know there's companies out there that take the whole of August off, and that the business owner in me says that's not productive either.
That's it. So you've got to think commercially as well.
Yeah, commercially. But at least let's put the amazing minds we have into a room and let's figure this out, because otherwise you're chasing people out of the workplace and that's not good. You know, there's talent out there, or you're driving children away from their parents, and that is the reality. So I think there's got to be something. There's got to be something we can do. I dream of a world of a big office with childcare within the space, and really good childcare, like the kind you get on holiday where the kids want to go to this place for a couple of hours and you create a village. But yeah, it's not, I've not really seen a good example yet of that.
No. And I heard someone being interviewed the other day and suggesting more frequent, shorter breaks throughout the whole year.
Yes.
Rather than this big long 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah,
in the
that
summer.
Would be good. Yeah.
But who knows? Like you say, we're smart. We should be able to come up with a solution for this that is commercially viable.
Yes.
Now, you speak a lot on your social media about financial literacy. Why is confidence around money such a powerful tool for personal transformation?
Great question. I do speak a lot about this because I think money is intrinsically connected to our emotions. I said earlier about my relationship with money, and unpacking that was one of the biggest habit changes I had, alongside tracking money. You know, why was it that I spent everything I had? Why was it that even if I got a pay rise, I would still see the money go out and not necessarily be able to tell you on what? And I think that's the case with many, many people. I know there's many people I know that are the same. So what is that? And when I realized and found out that we have a relationship with money from the age of 7, and that's sort of, my son's 9 and your daughter's 8, that's young. That's a young mentality. So I took myself back to when I was 7 and I was like, what are my beliefs? And it's spend money quick before it goes. You don't know how long you're going to live for. My dad was extremely ambitious. He is ambitious, but he lost his dad at a really young age. So that impacted on his behavior around money because he wanted us to have the best childhood. So give us everything you have while I'm here. And that translated into spend money quickly. You never know when it's going to go. Don't worry about later in life. Don't worry about that. And, now I've had to train myself to be a mortgage advisor and to think ahead for people and to think long term. And I had to challenge those beliefs and say with absolute love, I adore my dad, I adored my upbringing. I need to choose a little bit differently. I can't keep doing that because I want to have different financial habits. I want to have financial freedom. And if I keep doing that, it's never going to change. So I think if you take, we talk a lot about equality in the sector, and especially in the mortgage one, we stand for gender equality. But, there's other elements that we look at, race, and to truly be diverse. And I don't think anyone is talking about money as an equality measure. But if you think about the fact that we haven't all been taught the same about money, we are relying on our parents, relying on the communities that our parents have grown up in. So if you've got people from lower social communities that don't have access to that kind of knowledge, then they're entering the workforce with a different mentality, different spending patterns, different beliefs about money. And yet we don't address it. Mm. The whole country has got different foundations, and then the really well educated make really good investment choices from a young age, are taught to invest, are taught to, save. And if we were all given the same bit of knowledge, what behaviours would we see shape out? And I think it would be dramatically different. So it's not just about educating, it's about equality. It's making sure that you're not just relying on parents who don't know any better to bring up the next generation of the economy, basically. So I'm really passionate about it. And I also think it comes with empowerment. If you learn about money and you own it and you address your stuff and you change it, that is an amazing thing. And money it's not the answer to happiness, but it can facilitate it if you have it under control.
Absolutely. I feel if you're in control of your finances, being a financial advice business that we are, it provides peace of mind.
Peace is what we all want, isn't it?
Peace of mind rather than stress and concern.
Yeah.
Now, you were recently talking about this on This Morning.
Yes.
Did you get any feedback from parents who heard you?
Loads, yeah. And I think every time I talk about it, everyone says, yes. Oh, I wish they'd teach it in my children's school. I wish I got taught it at school. Everyone nods. Everyone wants it. But it's hard. I'm behind the scenes working with charities that do this. And I'm like, everyone wants this. So surely we all just need to come together and make it happen with the right people in the room. And it shouldn't be up to charities to convince teachers to do sessions or to let us do assemblies. It's not enough, I do like what the charities are doing because they're teaching the parents, and then the parents can bring those teachings in. But money is emotive. And if you haven't sort of explained that to the parents in the right way, they're not necessarily going to be able to translate the information either because they're learning too. So, yeah, it needs to change. What do we learn? There's so many things in the curriculum that we do not use. The basics.
Surely something can give.
Yeah,
exactly.
I have heard they are teaching more about tax. So that's good.
That's something, isn't
That's
it?
something, yeah.
And we're the same here at St James's Place. We partner with Young Enterprise, Red Start Educate, and all of our financial advisors or employees can go through a financial education delivery, so we can deliver it in schools. So
that's incredible.
Across the whole of the partnership and the employees is something we're extremely passionate about here too. So it's lovely to hear the same from you.
But imagine if we could combine, think how much St James's Place is putting towards this energy, time, people. And if loads of different companies are doing that, if that all was in one, all that energy and effort went into one collective, I'm sure we would have more than enough manpower and effort and energy to make it happen. But people, it's great that companies like St James Place are doing it, but
it's siloed, isn't it? It's pockets here.
They shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to take that full responsibility into their own hands.
Yeah,
but it's great that they are.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what financial fear nearly stopped you from changing careers?
Oh, scarcity mindset. Going self-employed, thinking, what if no one uses me? What if I earn nothing? Uncertainty and scarcity definitely made a massive impact. But you're always going to have that. That voice isn't going anywhere. Like I said to you earlier, it's just that version of you that is smaller, often your younger self, and wants to keep you safe. And it's really good to keep them close, but to also know when not to listen to them and go, okay, yeah, look, I've got this. It's fine. It's going to be okay. And if it's not, we'll pivot. So yeah, fear stopping you from doing anything outside of jumping out of a plane. Like, I actually would never do that. I'm too scared and I will never do it. But I think if you let fear stop you, it actually makes your world smaller in the end. So it's really important to try and face some of those fears.
And how did you prepare financially then to take that leap from employment to self-employment?
So I did both for a while. I know it's not always practical for people. I see that challenge in the mortgage mum, but I was part-time. So I had a toddler, part-time employed role, and our mortgage customers would speak to me in the evenings or on my lunch break. They were very flexible with time. In fact, they work too, right? So I found that I could work around her nap on the other 2 days. I worked in the evenings and I did weekends. I wouldn't recommend that for too long because obviously I was definitely working more hours than full time, to be honest. But that allowed me to build up my client base, to get my reputation solidified, to find lead sources. I really utilised the mum community online and have enough confidence that I could see a steady flow of leads coming in for a long period of time that made me think, yeah. I think it's really important to mention that I believe in the universe. I don't ever think the universe makes it really simple and says, here you go, it's all laid out and there's no risk here. There's no uncertainty. Don't you worry. It doesn't do that. It says leap first and I'll catch you. And if you believe, you really have faith, you'll know I've got you. But so many people wait for that cliff edge picture and you've got the hand there at the cliff, the bottom of the cliff. You've got someone at the top and it's like, just go. And they're waiting for the hand to be up here. And it's like, no, you've got to go first and then I'll catch you. So I was really into that. And when I handed my notice in, I was like, oh gosh, have I done the right thing? And then on the train home, I got 3 mortgages with the biggest loan amounts I'd ever had. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, the universe has got me. I should have just left way sooner. So I think you've got to also take a leap of faith.
That is fantastic. And also, I assume resilience comes into it because success isn't linear. It can be up and it can be down, but it can be an upward trend over time. But that resilience piece, how's that played for you?
Challenging at times, definitely. I'd love it if it was linear. It'd be so good. But you're right. Just when you're really high, there'll be something that knocks you, and it has not changed in the last. Certainly since I started the mortgage mum. It's been like this. But there's so much life in those graph lines going up and down. The resilience is the word. Life builds resilience. The more you live, truly live, the more resilient you're going to get. The more resilient you get, the more you're able to face into fear. The more you face into fear, the more opportunities wait for you and confidence, and your whole world gets bigger. From 18-year-old me who was anxious and kept my world so small, and didn't get in a lift, didn't get on a tube, didn't like trains, didn't like long car journeys. My world became tiny. And then now my world feels so much more expansive and I'm happier, even though I'm much more scared still. I still feel fear all the time, which is uncomfortable. I'm happier.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And it can feel very final when you pivot from employed to self-employed.
Yes, it can.
So that fear of it not working out can feel really worrying. But once you have pivoted, do you think it sets you up for making another pivot if you need to? You already mentioned that slightly. So yeah, can you elaborate?
I think absolutely. I think a lot of businesses aren't successful straight away, or sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs' first business isn't the business that they make it in, but you learn so many valuable skills that you can take with you, resilience being a major one, but courage, as well. And you learn to trust yourself more, and you need to allow yourself to pivot as well. So yes, you might fail, you might not.
Yeah.
And if you fail, you will 100% learn something huge, vital, that will be that will take you to the next thing. My phrase is always, it's this or something better. So if something doesn't work out, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what's coming then, because I really wanted that, So I think you've got to be around people that are doing what you do as well. Very difficult. An employee mindset is really different to a self-employed mindset. And if you are around employee mindset, which tend to be fixed mindset people, and that's nothing against if you're employed, but that's suited to somebody that needs certainty, and you can absolutely thrive in an employed environment. But if you are self-employed, you really got to lean into, whether that's a networking group or a development group or a coach, you've got to be fed in your growth mindset, which is, like you say, the ability to pivot and be resilient, because the wrong people around you
can have an impact.
Well, yeah, because, parents in particular, they've grown up in an employed environment.
Yeah.
They can hold a lot of fear.
Yeah.
They also hold all your money beliefs. You imagine the impact of that when they go, are you sure about this? And you think, you believe in me, and you're the reason I believe all this stuff about money, and you're kind of what I'm fighting against.
It's hard to say against.
It's hard. You sort of go home and go, no, I'm doing the right thing. And you go home and go, am I? Mum and dad said this. And that is hard. It's hard to go against advice, but this is where you've got to tune in. You've got to learn your own values, like you said, know who you are, and you've got to learn how to talk to that brain in your stomach, because that is the one that knows. That's the one that whispers to you and goes, I don't like this job. I don't like being employed. There's something better for me, and people get really good at ignoring it, but that's where your potential is sitting, whispering to you.
100%.
And the more you nurture that, the louder that voice gets.
I love that. Take notes, people. Really, really listen to yourself. Have you had emotional moments in this journey? And if so, is there any particular ones that stand out?
Yes, so many. My husband reminded me, we've just had a couple of days away to celebrate kind of the latest milestone in the business, and that we've just taken investment. And he said to me, no one have seen all of it except me. And I'm like, yeah, and you probably haven't even seen all of it, to be fair. He's like, I'll never forget that, like the times where you were on your knees in the loft. Our bedroom's in the loft. I wasn't just in the loft, in our bedroom. And there was one day in particular, it was like, it sounds crazy, so please don't, listen to this and think, oh my God, she's mental, I'm now going to discount everything. But I was screaming in frustration and just pure meltdown. Like, I just had nothing left, and I just thought, I cannot make this work. I can't even remember what the situation was. I just know it had me at literally, I was done and I had nothing left. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it anymore. And he would just listen, and I would work through it. And by the next morning, I'd be like, right, rock bottom. You always know I'm coming up from there. And I'd have a good idea, or I'd feel like, no, like I'm doing it. So it was always a good thing. But yeah, the emotional moments are tough. I had one last week at a networking event. I felt so tired and so anxious on the way there, and I didn't know why. And this woman spoke about slowing down and how she had a cardiac arrest in New York. And I sat at the back and cried, because I just thought, oh my God, I'm resonating with so much what you're saying. I'm running so fast right now, and I don't know how to slow down. I don't want to slow down, but my body is like, please, can you slow down?
It was the message you needed to hear.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say to you, I haven't had emotional moments, and I will have more. Having your own business it takes all of you. It's a soul journey. People don't talk about that. They talk about the figures. They talk about the potential. They talk about the milestones, but you are working with yourself. So whatever's in there is coming up in your business, and you got to address it, because otherwise it will hold your business back, and it will hold you back if you let it. So it's a deep journey. And a lot of the Mortgage Mum team, when they join, we do tell them, but they still come to us and go, what's happening? Why am I feeling, all sorts of things that I've never felt before? And we're like, we did say to you in the interview that it is going to pull up everything, but it's brilliant. It's like sorting out all your cupboards. Like, you're going to grow, you're going to be amazing, you're going to rise so bright, and your kids are going to watch that. So go with it. It's a process. Trust it. We've got you, but it's uncomfortable.
And I love how authentic you are with it. And I'm sure with your team, they see you going through these moments as well, which enables them to share theirs.
I hope so. They definitely see it. Yeah.
Now, it would be remiss of us if we didn't ask you some mortgage questions.
Okay.
So for self-employed listeners, and obviously people considering self-employment, a very poignant topic, what's different about applying for a mortgage when you're self-employed or you've recently switched careers?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think a lot of people think there are self-employed mortgages, and they're not. They're the same mortgages as everybody else, but it's how you prove your income that's tricky. And one of the difficult things that's really important to know is you need to have at least 1 year of accounts. And when you start a business, you and I know it takes a period of time to start making profit and to start seeing the figures show up in your accounts. So you really need to know that going into it. Timing is critical, because you will have to be patient to get ideally 2 years worth of accounts to show a mortgage lender. They'll take an average of the 2 usually, but if there's a really good reason why your second year is better than your first, for example, starting your own business, then they will take a view on that, and that's where we come in and really fight your corner. But it's all about being organised. The other key thing when you're self-employed is your accountant has one agenda, your mortgage advisor has another. Having as much income as you need for a mortgage is really important, not reducing your tax bill. And the two do not directly correlate. So really speaking to an advisor to work out what your priorities are mortgage wise, I would start with that, and everything works from there. So I, as a self-employed individual, I work backwards from my goals. So I'm like, what do I need to earn? Therefore, what does the company need to do for me to be able to afford that house? And I'm still working towards that, but I know what I need to do. I know how much I need to earn. I know how much I need per month. And that motivates me in my business choices. So if I didn't know that, you're just shooting blind. And then you go to a mortgage advisor and they say, oh, you need 2 years. Oh, I'm afraid your affordability doesn't match. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
So I would just say be organised and speak to an advisor even before you're ready.
Are there specific lenders or mortgage products that are more friendly to freelancers or self-employed people?
Definitely. So there are lenders out there who, for example, like I said, take the latest year into account, will see the growth potential of a business, will really listen to the people behind the application and us. Absolutely. There's lenders that we favour for self-employed. For contractors especially, there's lots of different lenders that will look at contractors differently, give you a different calculation on your day rate, or perhaps even treat you as employed if you're a CIS contractor, construction industry scheme contractor. So really important to not navigate this yourself. I'm not just self-promoting here. Genuinely, every lender on the market does something different. It's a minefield, and you do need somebody that's going to navigate it. And especially if you're self-employed, you are a jigsaw puzzle, and you need us to help you put it together to find you the right lender.
Absolutely. Now, you've recently been talking about freedom to buy mortgage schemes.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, so recently Rachel Reeves has announced the 95% mortgage guarantee scheme, Freedom to Buy scheme, is permanent. That effectively means you can get a mortgage with a 5% deposit, and it's a permanent scheme. So the government work in the background with the lenders to insure them against any potential losses that might happen from that. So we should see more lenders having the appetite now to do 95% mortgages. And in short, that means people that can't afford to save a deposit have a greater chance of home ownership, which is so important. With the government building hopefully 1.5 million homes over the next 5 years, we don't know how many will actually get built, but we know that they've made it very clear they've got a big priority on building homes. We want people to be able to buy them. So this helps people hopefully access the mortgages that they need to buy them.
Brilliant news. When people start earning a bit more money, which they often do thanks to self-employment, is there a decision to make? Do you pay some extra money off your mortgage, or do you invest that money? Have you got any advice?
There is definitely a decision to make. And this is one I think about a lot, because I'm really pro-investment. I really see the growth potential. And obviously in Rachel Reeves' recent speech, she obviously echoes that, because she wants there to be a lot more knowledge around investing and for banks to talk about it more and for us to talk about the positives more. You have to weigh up, firstly, your risk appetite, because the investing is not guaranteed to make you money. Your rate is guaranteed to, your monthly payment is guaranteed to come down if you pay your mortgage. But the rate difference can be quite significant. So, I see people making an 8 or 9% return on investments over a long term, which their mortgage would, and paying a mortgage rate of 4%. So realistically, that, the money being over here is going to grow higher than being over here. But it really depends on your appetite for risk, your confidence to invest, which not a lot of people have, especially women. So there's a lot to work on, I think, before people will actively choose to invest over overpaying their mortgage. But
and there's lots
both are good.
There's lots to consider. It's affordability to keep paying the mortgage.
Yes.
It's what you do if you do pay off with the money that you would have paid to your mortgage.
Exactly.
So it swings and roundabouts, but lots to consider, and to speak to an expert is certainly what I would recommend.
Yeah, it's just good to soundboard. I know a lot of people use ChatGPT to soundboard this stuff as well, which comes with a risk warning that, can be wrong. But ultimately what you need is someone professional to soundboard with, because you're looking for the answers in yourself, but you just, with so many numbers flying about and all of your money stories, you sometimes just need someone to go, yes, what you're saying is a good idea and this is why. So use people like yourselves and us to talk to about that. But yeah, I do see more people saying, don't overpay your mortgage, invest instead. And I'm not against that as a concept.
So many people dream of doing something different, but worry about starting over. What can listeners do to feel confident and draw on the skills from their previous experiences?
I think you've got to be brave and be courageous and dare to be great. The world needs you. If you have a really great idea, however small it might seem, it might change one person's life, and it was planted in you for a reason. They say you're only given what you can handle, but you're also only given what you have the ability to share and what you have the ability to manifest into reality. So if you get an idea pop into your head, use it. It's there for a reason. It was given to you because you have the voice or the skills to bring it into something. So yeah, I love people with new ideas, because it's hard to have a new idea. The world is full of innovation. It's full to the brim. If you go on social media alone, you'll see how many people are trying to do different things. It's so saturated. So if you've got a new idea and you haven't seen anyone else do it, like, go on Dragon's Den, get it out there, get it out there, speak it into reality.
I love that. Now, we've discussed and you've coached and supported so many women making big life shifts. What are the biggest barriers that we need to break down for women in particular to make a career change?
Confidence. And I blame social conditioning a lot for this. Women have had to fight really hard to have a voice. We're judged all the time. Look at the Barbie speech. We're judged for being too confident. We're judged for not being enough. You will find a whole army of people who will criticize no matter what decision you make. And the world made it okay for that to be the case, for women to be judged. And I could go into a whole feminist speech about this. But that has resulted in women being scared to use their voice for fear of getting it wrong, losing confidence in themselves, not leaning on their village, because some women, we have it in all of us. Some women turn on each other and think they have to climb over each other to get to the top, because that's what we've been taught to believe with the magazine articles. Who wore it better? Why can't they just both look amazing? Why does one have to be better than the other? These are all ways of reducing our power. So women have to override that. I have to also always tell the team this as well, that that's in you. It's okay. It's not because you're a bad person or a bad version of a woman. It's because it's in you from years and centuries ago. But you have to override it, because together we're stronger. And no one gives a woman more confidence than another woman. That's the genuine truth. There's just something in us that's very tribal. So we have to lean on our women around us, build your village. If you haven't got the right one, change it, because they're out there. Women are incredible. They're so good at supporting each other. And I think confidence is the biggest barrier, believing in yourself. But there is lots of help out there to try and change that.
Fantastic. What's one piece of advice you would give to mothers who are returning to the workforce after having children?
Please do not believe that your brain is broken. So many people say it as a joke, flippantly. Oh, baby brain. Oh, I lost my brain when I had my baby. You haven't. You have so much potential. You have so much fire, because the fire that looks after your children, raises them, births them, is in you. And if you need to find that fire, you can use your kids straight away as a means as to finding it, as a reason why. They can become not what you tell them to, they become who you are. So if you need to like who you are and how you're showing up, because that's what they'll go on to do. So use the children to fuel you, but please don't believe your brain is broken. You are so capable of learning something new, of being a student again. Like, your brain will expand. You can do it, and you can fit it in. A lot of parents think, I can't fit anything else in. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much time you waste on your phone scrolling or doing things like that need doing, but just doing it in a different time. Yeah, washing and stuff. We all have to do it, but you can do it last thing at night rather than it occupying hours of your day. So just, be open to change.
What would you say to a listener who is feeling stuck in a career that might look perfect on paper, but it feels wrong in their gut?
Change it. If living with anything, relationships, jobs, that feels wrong in your gut is so damaging. It reduces your trust in yourself, because every day you are ignoring yourself. You are choosing something or someone else other than you, and that diminishes your power. So the impact is huge, so much bigger than we give ourselves credit for. But we don't want to be disruptive. It's half the time we just want an easy life and we're tired, and there's lots of reasons, but ignoring that gut feeling, even if you have the perfect job on paper, are you happy? Truly? And if you're not, if there's a chance, one small chance you'll be happier, even if you fail, but you chose yourself, you've got to do it and you won't regret it. Even people that go back to employment, they don't regret it. They go back a different person. They don't have the what if anymore. They've explored it. And some people do go back, and that's fine, but they are not going back. They go forward to a choice that's right for them then.
Yeah.
So listen to your gut.
I love that. And finally, we ask this question to all of our guests.
Okay.
What is the best piece of invaluable advice that you've been given from someone else that you would like to pass on?
I got told more than once, trust the process, when I was on The Voice. And it is just true. There's a route to the place you want to go. Just doesn't look like how you want it to half the time. Sometimes it does. Really great if it does. But often it doesn't. But there's a reason. And I like to think, if, say, for example, you want to be this woman that has all these things, big house, high profile career, on TV, whatever that is. But you're too scared to sing on a stage, for example, in my case. The universe is listening and going, okay, you want that thing? You got to go through some stuff, because the person you are can't have that yet. They're not ready. So to do this, I need to teach you resilience. I need to teach you adaptability. I need you to stop being a perfectionist, because it's not going to be perfect over there. I need you to be confident. And that isn't a nice lesson, but it's a process to get you where you want to go. So you have to trust it. And when those challenges come up, sometimes I'm like in dialogue and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. All right, I understand why I've got trolls. It's because I need to know what that feels like. I understand it's rubbish. I don't like it, but I understand the process. And that's why you have to continuously check in and say, do I actually want that thing with everything it comes with? Not just the gloss. Do I want the whole thing? And it's okay if you don't. You can pivot again. So trust the process.
Thank you. Now, I'm sure people will have taken lots of your invaluable advice today. So thank you. Where can they find you?
So you can find me on social media, on all the platforms, unsurprisingly, and on our website, www.themortgagemum.co.uk. But yes, I will respond to all emails and inquiries. So yeah, get in touch.
Sarah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
A big thanks to Sarah for joining us on the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode of The Switch, make sure to follow, rate and share it with somebody who's ready for a career change. And if you're on your own journey, hit subscribe. We've got plenty more inspiration and insight coming your way. I'm Gee Foottit and you've been listening to The Switch from St James's Place Financial Advisor Academy.